Hey guys, it's me, Saren, back with another video. So today is the other Wednesday. As you guys know, every other Wednesday I do Hidden Figures. It is the other Wednesday, and today's Hidden Figure is Leah Chase, who you guys may have heard a lot about recently. She actually died a few days ago on June 1st, and so I decided to do today's Hidden Figures video on her because I actually had never heard of her until she passed. Leah Chase, born January 6, 1923, and died June 1, 2019, was an American chef based in New Orleans, Louisiana. An author and television personality, she was known as the Queen of Creole Cuisine, advocating for both Black American art and Creole cooking. Her restaurant, Dooky Chase, was known as a gathering place during the 1960s among many who participated in the Civil Rights Movement, and was known as an art gallery as well due to its extensive Black American art collection. In 2018, it was named one of the 40 most important restaurants of the past 40 years by Food and Wine. Chase was the recipient of a multitude of awards and honors, and in her 2002 biography, they occupy over 2 pages. Chase was inducted into the James Beard Foundation's Who's Who of Food and Beverage in America in 2010. She was honored with the Lifetime Achievement Award from the Southern Foodways Alliance in 2000. Chase received honorary degrees from Tulane University, Dillard University, Our Lady of Holy Cross College, Madonna College, Loyola University New Orleans, and Johnson & Wales University. She was awarded the Times-Picayune Loving Cup Award in 1997, and the Southern Food and Beverage Museum in New Orleans has a permanent gallery in Chase's honor. Leah Chase was born to Creole parents in New Orleans and grew up in Madisonville, Louisiana. Chase's father was a caulker at the Jank shipyard. I might have mispronounced that. Jonk, let me know. And her grandmother was a registered nurse and midwife. Chase was the second oldest of 13 children, and she was 6 when the Great Depression struck, and later recollected surviving on produce that the family grew themselves: okra, peas, greens, and clothes of sacks that held rice and flour. The children helped cultivate the land, especially on the 20-acre strawberry farm her father's family owned, which Chase described as forming an integral part of her knowledge of food. She stated, "I always say it's good coming up in a small rural town because you learn about animals. Kids today don't know the food they eat. If you come up in a country town where there's some farming, some cattle raising, some chicken raising, you know about those things. When we went to pick strawberries, we had to walk maybe 4 or 5 miles through the woods, and you learned what you could eat. You knew you could eat that mayhaw. You knew that growing up in the woods. You just knew things. You got to appreciate things." While Chase's parents were Catholics, Madisonville, a segregated town, did not have a Catholic high school for Black children, so Chase moved to New Orleans to live with relatives and pursue a Catholic education at St. Mary's Academy. Chase's roots were heavily centered in Louisiana, with only one great-grandparent born elsewhere. Her ancestors include one of the first Black Americans to serve in the Louisiana State of House Representatives from 1868 to 1870. After high school, Leah held other jobs, including marking racehorse boards for a bookie in New Orleans, in which she was the first woman to do so, and working as an overseer of 2 non-professional boxers. Chase's favorite job was working as a waitress at the Colonial Restaurant and the Coffee Pot, which has been renamed Café Beignet, in the French Quarter of New Orleans, with a pay of $1 a day. And for those of you that didn't know, because I didn't know, Princess Tiana from The Princess and the Frog was modeled after Leah Chase, which is why they have her working as the waitress in the Coffee Pot restaurant. Isn't that so cool? And I never knew that. In 1946, she married jazz trumpeter and band leader Edgar Dooky Chase II. His parents owned a street corner stand in Treme, founded in 1941, that sold lottery tickets and homemade po' boy sandwiches. Chase began working in the kitchen at the restaurant during the 1950s, and over time, Leah and Dooky took over the stand and converted it into a sit-down establishment, Dooky Chase's Restaurant. Dooky Chase became a staple in the Black communities of New Orleans, and by the 1960s became one of the only public places in New Orleans where Black Americans could meet and discuss strategies during the Civil Rights Movement. Leah and her husband would host Black voter registration campaign organizers, the NAACP, Black political meetings, and many other civil leaders at their restaurant, including Martin Luther King Jr. and the Freedom Riders. They would hold secret meetings and private strategy discussions in her upstairs meeting rooms while she served them gumbo and fried chicken. Dooky Chase ended up becoming so popular that even though local officials knew about these illegal meetings, the city and local law enforcement could not stop them or shut the doors because of the risk of public backlash. On a Wednesday night in late May 1965, a homemade bomb exploded in front of the Dooky Chase restaurant, causing fragments from the explosive device to tear through the front door of the establishment. Despite violence and threats, Dooky Chase's restaurant was key when Martin Luther King Jr. and the Freedom Riders came to learn from the Baton Rouge bus boycott. As King and the Freedom Riders were beginning to organize their bus boycott in Montgomery, they would hold meetings with civil leaders from New Orleans and Baton Rouge in Dooky Chase's meeting rooms to learn about the bus boycotts in Baton Rouge. The civil rights movement depended on establishments like Dooky Chase's, as they were places where activists could meet and strategize, as well as places where they were guaranteed refuge. There were also no Black-owned banks in the surrounding neighborhoods, so people would commonly go to Dooky Chase's on Fridays, where Leah Chase and her husband would cash checks for trusted patrons at the bar. Friday nights became popular as people would cash their checks, have a drink, and order a po' boy. In addition to her cooking and organizing, Leah Chase studied art in high school, but because museums were segregated in the Jim Crow South, she was 54 the first time she visited an art museum. She visited the museum with her friend Celestine Cook, who was the first Black American to sit on the board of the New Orleans Museum of Art, which Chase also joined in 1972. Chase began catering gallery openings for early career artists during the Civil Rights period and started collecting Black American art after her husband gave her a Jacob Lawrence painting. She soon began to display dozens of paintings and sculptures by Black American artists like Elizabeth Catlett and John T. Biggers, as well as hire local musicians to play in her bar. In addition to serving on the board of the New Orleans Museum of Art, she was on the boards of the Arts Council of New Orleans, the Louisiana Children's Museum, the Urban League of Greater New Orleans, and the Greater New Orleans Foundation. From April 24, 2012 to September 16, 2012, the New Orleans Museum of Art exhibited Leah Chase paintings by Gustave Blache III. The exhibition documented the chef Leah Chase in her kitchen and in the dining room at Dooky Chase's restaurant. Blache's painting, Cutting Squash, from the exhibition at the New Orleans Museum of Art was acquired for its permanent collection by the Smithsonian National Portrait Gallery in 2011. The National Museum of African American History and Culture came calling for another painting of Chase from the Blache series, acquiring Leah Redcoat Stirring in 2013. Leah Chase is the first chef to have two portraits in the permanent collection of the Smithsonian Institution, both in the National Portrait Gallery and the NMAAHC. Dooky Chase's location in the 6th Ward of New Orleans was flooded by Hurricane Katrina, and Chase and her husband spent more than a year living in a FEMA trailer across the street from the restaurant. To save Chase's Black American art collection from damage, her grandson placed it in storage. The New Orleans restaurant community got together on April 14, 2006 to hold a benefit, charging for gumbo, fried chicken, and a bread pudding lunch at a posh French Quarter restaurant. The guests consumed 50 gallons of gumbo and raised $40,000 for the 82-year-old Mrs. Chase. While she worked to reopen the restaurant, Chase also joined Women of the Storm, a coalition of women from neighborhoods across the city who joined together to lobby Congress for funds to restore New Orleans and other communities after Hurricanes Katrina and Rita. Chase was one of the women associated with the group who flew to Washington, D.C. to speak to Congress and the White House. After reopening the doors of Dooky Chase's, Leah Chase fed her Creole cuisine to many important figures, including former U.S. President Barack Obama. Known as the Queen of Creole Cuisine, Leah Chase won many awards and achievements in her lifetime. She was awarded Best Fried Chicken in New Orleans by NOLA.com in 2014, and she received the James Beard Lifetime Achievement Award in 2016 for her lifetime body of work, which had a positive and lasting impact on the way people ate, cooked, and thought about food in New Orleans. Many world-renowned chefs such as John Besh and Emeril Lagasse honored Leah Chase and credited her with perfecting Creole cuisine. Chase fed many celebrities, politicians, and activists such as Hank Aaron, Lena Horne, James Baldwin, and many other prominent figures in the Black American community. In the early morning blues, Ray Charles sang, "I went to Dooky Chase to get me something to eat," cementing the significance of Dooky Chase in pop culture. She was also approached by Pelican Publishing to write a cookbook, which she sat down and wrote by hand. Dooky Chases operated under limited hours in the years after Hurricane Katrina, but Chase continued to work in the kitchen and for events honoring her until she entered the hospital on April 18, 2019. Leah Chase died on June 1, 2019, at the age of 96. In 2013, Chase and her husband founded the Edgar, Dooky Jr. and Leah Chase Family Foundation. According to their official website, the foundation was founded to cultivate and support historically disenfranchised organizations by making significant contributions to education, creative and culinary arts, and social justice. Having spent her life advocating for civil rights, supporting local artists and musicians, and providing original Creole cuisine, this foundation was an extension of her passion. Through this foundation, which will continue even after her death, the Chase family hosted several fundraising events to support children's educations such as music, art, and history. And it says here that the restaurant will also remain open, that as she got a little bit older in years, they also brought on some more staff to do more of the cooking, even though now you will probably never be able to get in there. But I'm really glad that I was able to do this one. So Leah Chase recently passed, a hidden figure, a civil rights icon, a cultural cuisine, the Queen of Creole Cuisine, a cultural icon. So I'm really glad I was able to do this one. Leah Chase, a hidden figure. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. There will be tons of links in the description box, especially because she passed so recently. So there's a lot of information floating around about her out there if you guys want to learn more. Food for thought as always. See you guys next time.